Hello, how are you? This is Steven. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited about this show about the Bible, things about the Bible, because I want to learn more, and I like to dig into the Bible, and me being inquisitive about the Bible and asking questions helps me to unravel more things in the Bible. So if you're like me and you would like to unravel things, if you'd like to know more things, or you're inquisitive, or you always have these questions in your head concerning things in the Bible, um, then this is a show for you. So tune in and watch the show. This is not a live broadcast, so but it will be uploaded every time I do the video. So I would like to get questions, any of your questions. I know you probably have questions, and I have a whole lot of questions. I question myself, I dig into the Bible just to find out the answer to the question. And all right, welcome to the show. This is Lab. Welcome to Lab. I'm so happy to be here this week. Please follow us on YouTube. It's a show that we just started, I think about 2 weeks ago. So every week I'll be uploading videos on Lab. It is questions on topics, different topics in the Bible. Drop your questions. Do not forget to comment, ask questions, and we will view them and deal with them as they come in. And also, please subscribe to our channel. Alright, so today, this week, we'll still be talking about Judas. We talked about Judas, we talked about Peter, and so this week we'll still be talking about Judas. So the questions that I will be dealing with this week with regards to Judas is it okay for a believer to use betrayal money? Last show I talked about the fact that the priest and the church basically gave Judas 30 pieces of silver. So Judas automatically became a rich person, because from not having anything to having 30 pieces of silver, that's a lot of wealth, a lot of money that came to him. He could have exchanged that silver for money. So is it okay for a believer to use betrayal money? And by that being said, I mean when a believer sells or betrays his friend. And we know the story that Jesus was wrongly accused and he eventually was killed. Now, Judas did not know that Jesus will be killed. he thought that some, because they had been trying to capture Jesus and they never could. So I'm not so sure that Judas um, thought that any harm will happen to Jesus. He just thought, like other times, he would be able to escape, and then they can use the money, or he can use the money. So, but it went the other way. So when he saw that Jesus was captured, we saw how he brought the money back to the priest and to the elders, telling them, I have sinned. This is Matthew chapter 27, verse 4. He said, I have sinned in betraying innocent blood. They replied, what is that to us? Take care of it yourself. And in verse 5, he cast the money into the sanctuary of the temple and departed and went and hung himself. So that tells me that Judas didn't really think it through. I don't think he thought that any harm will happen to his master, even though his master warned him. But I'm not so sure that he thought that it would go to that extent where Jesus would be killed. Probably caught, probably imprisoned, but later on released. So when he saw that something bad was about to happen to him, he now repented. He said, again, I'm going to repeat it, he was remorseful, and he brought back the money and gave it to them. But when they refused to take it from him, he left it. So my question, back to my question, is it okay for a believer to use betrayal money? That is money where someone is probably wrongly accused, especially when it has to do with a believer. But even if it's not a believer, someone that's probably wrongly accused, they are being caught for something that they didn't do, and you probably sold them out, or they gave you money in exchange for you saying, okay, I witnessed them doing this, meanwhile they didn't do it. So some accusations you have to be very sure before you speak or you become a witness to some stuff. So because some people end up in prison for what they didn't do, some end up for the things that they do. But Jesus here was caught and he didn't do anything wrong. And even when he was found not guilty, they still ended up killing him. So is it okay to use the money that you received? Since Judas did not really think that Jesus will end up being killed, should he have used the money? Was he right in returning the money? And if you were to find out later on, what if maybe you thought that somebody did something, but eventually with all evidence you realize that they didn't do a thing, and you were a witness, but you were not so sure, maybe you were not so sure of the face, you described the face and they wrongly picked up somebody else. Eventually you came to realize, oh, it wasn't the person that you identified that did the crime. And they gave you some amount of money for the person that you identified. Should you use the money or should you return the money? Biblically, the Bible talks about being a false witness or a wrong witness. So biblically, I think you should return the money. If you didn't know, if you were not so sure, if we're not 100% sure, and then later on you come to find out, oh, maybe it wasn't the person, I think you should return the money and explain yourself so that if the person was wrongly or falsely accused and ended up in jail, the person can be released. If you were a rightful witness to a crime, then you, by all means, you can use the money. So again, if you witnessed a crime and you are 100% sure that the person did the crime and they gave you money as a reward for it, you can use the money, because in that case you are not a false witness and what you're doing is good, because we want to limit the number of crime where we are. You don't want to encourage anyone to do crime. We want people to be good citizens. They have to work to make money. They have to behave well. So if you were a right eyewitness to a crime, then they give you a reward. You should use it. But if you were a false witness and this thing ended up where maybe this person may be in prison for life, or they may be killed for it, and you were not sure, you should return the money and explain yourself so that you are clear, and the person can be let go. All right, so I hope that is well understood, and I hope I was able to explain it well or clarify it. Let me see. I know the other question. I have about 3 questions. So it's not okay for you to use the money if you're a false witness to a crime or to a case. Now, is it okay for the church to have received the money from Judas when he brought back the money? Okay, I don't want to go into that first. I'll come back and revisit that. Now, what about blood money? One is betrayal money. The other one is betrayal. Now, what if your friend was the one that did the crime? What if it was someone close to you, your brother, your sister, that did the crime, and you were eyewitness, but you were not a false witness, you were a good witness? Is it okay for you to take the money? Yes, it's okay if you were a right witness, not a false witness. But if you were a false witness, you're not 100% sure, you should return the money. Now, blood money. What about blood money? Because they told him it's blood money. The chief priest and the people, they told him, this is in from verse 6 to 9, they told him the money was blood money. They decided not to. The chief priest picked up the money. Then they said it's blood money. They didn't want to put it in the sanctuary or use it for anything in the sanctuary. They called it, labeled it blood money. So they now decided to use the money to buy a potter's field where they bury strangers. Now, and they called that piece of land Field of Blood. That was a lot of money, like I said again. Judas, if Jesus was not caught and killed, he would have been a very rich person, because he bought a big piece of land that's able to bury a whole lot of people, but these are strangers. So is it okay to use blood money? What if I'm trying to think, maybe you end up doing the wrong job. You're a criminal and you're doing the wrong job, and someone ends up dying. Maybe you decide, we're not going to take guns, we're not going to kill anyone, but accidentally somebody maybe fainted while you went to do the crime. The person fainted and they never were able to get them resuscitated. Is it okay for you to do the money, to use the money? First off, if you're doing crime, that's a whole another thing entirely, which God has to deal with you for you not to obtain money through that means. God has to give you wisdom. You have to get out of that job, that occupation, because first off, it's very dangerous for you to do that. Or number two, you're robbing somebody else of their hard-earned money, or maybe not hard-earned money, because they too, even some people steal money from other people too. Maybe the rich people that are stealing money from the citizens, which they should be helping, but they're stealing the money to use it for themselves, and so you too go to steal from them because they are also stealing from their citizens. So it's a whole new ball game. In some parts of the world, you have people that owe people for about maybe 6 months and they don't release the pay. It says, oh, they're not paying people. And so you see people, maybe teachers or people in the government section, they will be on strike because they've refused to pay them for a whole 6 months period, or 1 year or 2 years. And so what happened to the money? Money has been coming in, but someone has been refusing to pay. So these people, sometimes they might be pushed to do things that they shouldn't do. I know I shouldn't be getting into all this, but sometimes it's important to talk about it. So now, like I said, your occupation is bad, so you have to change your occupation. You have to pray to God for God to give you wisdom to get another type of job that will be beneficial to you and to everybody else, will not put you at risk and will not put any other person at risk, so that you will not end up you will not end up with blood money. So, is it okay for a believer to use blood money? And the answer is a very big no. Everything about that money is bad. In this case, Jesus ended up dying. That is the main reason why Judas returned the money. If Jesus did not die, he probably would have used the money himself. There would have been no problem. There would have been no issue. So his master ended up dying. That is why he returned the money. And he also said the innocent blood. So someone innocent ended up dying. So, like I said, I don't think he thought it would come to this point. Maybe he thought maybe there will be a way of escape for Jesus, and so the money will be okay or safe for them to use. So now it's not okay. If it was not okay for Judas to use it, it's not okay for you to use it. It doesn't matter how you want to fix it or paint it or cover it up, it's never okay. So don't use it. Is it okay now to the church? Now, is it okay for the church to have taken the money from Judas? Should they have taken the money from Judas and used it in the church? After all, they're the same people that pushed him to do it. They're the same people that paid him to do it. So why did they pay him to do it if they knew that Jesus might end up dying? They were planning to kill him after all. So they knew very well that he might end up dying. Judas, in the other hand, probably didn't know the intent of their heart. If he knew, he thought it would not happen. And also maybe they too thought, well, he might, with all the power he's having, he's going to use his power and escape, not knowing that the Father had other plans for him. So should they have taken the money from Judas? Should they have put it in the church, put it back where they got it from? Probably they should have. Probably they should have. But if talking about another church. Hmm? If it wasn't the church that you don't know anything about this blood money, somebody just comes to you. Maybe you don't know his occupation, and somebody was either betrayed or somebody was killed, and you end up with this money. Maybe you were a witness, a false witness, and you end up with a large sum of money, and you bring the money to church, to any church at all. You like the church, and you want God to use this to cleanse the rest of the money. Is it okay for the church to take it? I'm talking about a church that doesn't know your occupation, doesn't know anything about what you did. First of the church doesn't know anything about you, about your occupation. That is why it's very important for the pastor to verify your occupation. Hmm? To verify, know what you do for a living. Now, if they see and know that every day you go to work, I would assume that the money comes from your work. But if I know that you don't have a job, you don't have a business, I would be very concerned about the money. The first thing I would ask is, where did you get this money from? And if I come to realize that this money, somebody ended up dying, that's blood money. Or you betrayed someone falsely, or you got it falsely in any way, of any way at all that's false, that's negative. I think that's a big no-no. So the church should not take it. They need to verify your occupation first to be sure that you're working, or you're in business, or you got it, maybe you won lottery. But any other way that is positive is okay to take, not negative. So what if the church takes the money, they didn't know anything about your occupation, and they use it? What will happen to the church? Well, the church didn't know anything about your occupation, doesn't know anything about your business, so nothing will happen. God will judge it based on the pastors, whoever received it from you, their heart, their conscience. They don't know anything about you. You're not a well-known criminal. If you were a well-known criminal or a well-known killer, yes, if you came to the church to bring the money and they took it from you, that would be a very big issue or a very big problem. If they knew and they knowingly took it from you. But if they didn't know, you're not a popular criminal, they see you and they know that you have a business or you have a work that you go to, and you brought the money, their heart is clean, their hands are also clean, so they can take the money from you. So that's all the questions that I have for you this week. These are quite interesting questions, and I know you're wondering, why did I come up with this? But these are things that happen in churches, because if you know, and before I leave, I think I'm done. These are the only 3 questions that I had, because if you knew very well that someone was a criminal or a killer, and he brought some large amount of money to you, I think the first thing you should do is try to minister the gospel to them, to get them to convert, to change their lifestyle, to change their way of life, rather than you taking the money from them and leaving them to go. Because if you were to take the money from them and let them go, that means you're not concerned about their soul, neither are you concerned about their life or the lives of other people that may be involved in future or in the past or are still involved. I think it's very important for you to sit this person down and preach or minister to them, so that God, the Holy Spirit, can minister to them, even if they're not changed, but they heard the gospel, and the Spirit that is in the gospel will minister to their heart to turn them or to cause them to change. Their soul is very important. For them to even think about bringing the money to church is a good thing. Thinking about God is a good thing. But God is more concerned about their soul than any amount of money. There's no amount of money that they can bring to God which God does not already have access to. We use money in the world for transaction in the earth realm. But overall, God is so rich that He's more concerned. Their soul is worth more than the amount of money that's used in the earth realm. And also compared to all of, no matter the precious stones that God has, that person's life is more valuable than all of the minerals and all of the stones and all of the money in the whole earth realm put together. So I think that God will be more concerned about that person's soul being saved than any amount of money he would bring to God. Whether it's to build the house of God or to do anything. So you preaching the gospel to them and getting them to turn would please God more, would please heaven more. In future, that person will see. So then you not only is their soul gonna be saved, but lives will also be saved. The lives that would have been affected by his wrong decision. Tomorrow is very important for you to try to prevent him from destroying those lives or even destroying his own self. Is either he destroys himself or he destroys other people on his path or on his walk, which does not lead to life. So it's also important for you to show him other ways in God in order for him to get rich or to obtain money. Yeah. So anyway, I believe if anyone comes to your church, that's a very good thing, and that's an opportunity for you to change their life, for you to minister the gospel to them and point them to the right path, to God. If anyone steps into your church, that's an opportunity for them to touch God. That them stepping their feet into church is the right path, is the path of life, the path to God. So you should never fail to link them to God. All right, so that's the end of the show for today. I'm so glad that you tuned in to watch. Please tune in next time to hear whatever topic we'll be discussing. Again, if you agree with me, comment. If you do not agree, also comment. I will take a look at it and see why you agree and why you disagree. Also share your comments, your views, and your suggestions. All right, thank you. Bye.